Okay, let's build our project. This is project number 1, the Blink project. And just to review what we have here, we've got our Raspberry Pi, okay? We've got our ribbon cable. You'll notice the side that the pin 1, the red lead, is on, all the way at the top here, okay? Then the other end of the ribbon cable is tied into our GPIO extension board or shield. Okay, so then we've got the extension board and shield that is plugged into our breadboard. Okay, get that. Should stop moving the table. Okay, so first thing you want to do is you want to plug in your components. And over here, I've got a list of what things that we need to plug in and where they need to be plugged in. However, before I go too far, I really need to talk to you about the GPIO extension shield or extension board and where it gets plugged in. Now, if you look at our video right here, you can see columns A, B, C, and our first pin is plugged into D1. D1. So there's row 1. This is column D here, D1. And it goes all the way down to G20, okay? If you look, however, at the diagram that I give you in the instructions, let me pull that up. It would appear that this thing is plugged in from C1, column C, row 1, to, this would be H1, because you've got I right there, so this would be H1, and then you've got H20 down below here. The reason for the difference, excuse me, is that the software that we use for creating these diagrams right here is using a slightly different extension board, okay, than the manufacturer Freenove has given us in our kits, okay? So we often use this. In fact, Freenove even uses this as well. If you look at theirs, they've got the same issues with their diagrams as well. And I have talked to them about this. In either case, I want you to pay attention to how I'm directing you to plug this in, okay? And don't eyeball it based on this diagram right here, okay? All right, so our other components, we've got our LED, we've got our resistors, and I only need one of these. I just wanted to point out that these are 220s, okay? So 220 ohms. And then I've got 2 DuPont wires and obviously my breadboard. So we want to plug our components in, and you'll notice that I've got my Raspberry Pi. It's the extension shield is plugged in from D1 through, or 2, and I should really say through. Okay, G20. Okay, so D1 is up here, G20 is down here. It appears to be plugged into the right place. Next, I've got to put in my LED, and the anode is supposed to go into E24, and the cathode is supposed to go into E23. Now, the anode is the positive, the cathode is the negative. It's, as we've talked about before, it's very important with LEDs that you plug them in properly because they've got polarity. You don't want to plug them in reverse because you could actually damage them, okay? So how do you tell the plus side and the minus side? Well, the plus side is going to be the longer lead, okay? And the minus side is going to be the shorter lead. So let's plug that in, and that's going into 23 and 24. And there we go. Okay. So you can see that is plugged into E23 on the cathode and E24 on the anode. Okay. Next, we want to put in our resistor. So I'm going to take one of these resistors off. And I'm going to bend these resistors a little bit. Just bend the leads like that. Okay. And then I'm going to put that into D24 and D28. Okay, so I'm going to go into D24 right there, and then we're going to go into D28. Oh, I got that right. Okay, so here you can see the one end is plugged into D24, the other end is plugged into D28. You see 30 right here. So this is 29, 28. Okay. And now we're going to put in our DuPont wires. Now our DuPont wires, these are male to male. The ends are male. Okay. And I picked red and black simply because we're doing a positive and negative, if you will. We'll start with the negative. And we're putting it in, let's start with the black wire, B20 through B23. Okay, so I'm going to go to B20 right there to B23. Okay, so again, I'm in column B, see the B up here, B20, and I'm going to B23, okay? Now, I'm going to connect into my extension shield, and I'm going to connect the wire A6, so I'm going to put that A6 right there. Okay, bend it over a little bit so you can see it's next to the 5. It's not plugged into the 5, it's next to the 5, okay? And then we're going to come down to, we're plugging into A28. So there's A28, and that lines up with that pin right there. So we now have everything wired up and ready to go to look at our software and get this flying. Okay, that will be our next step.